Do you remember January, February, March, April, May 1st, I think it was. I had a viral video, the one and only, and it was really a fluke. But I'm going to talk about the same thing that I talked about then, why I don't like to leave the house. And you will understand when I'm done with this talk why I don't leave that. I got to move over because you're not getting there. There I am. Okay. So I'm going to talk about, I'm going to share with you the last couple of days because they have been literally making me crazy. Sierra Dawn made a comment about how everything went wrong. Her computer went wrong, her keyboard went wrong, the internet went wrong, the cable went wrong, everything went wrong, and how everything just snowballs. It snowballs, or it's like dominoes. They just all fall down together, and there's one thing that you have to deal with, and then another thing. Well, that's what I've been doing the last couple of days, and I don't like it. I can't wait. Tomorrow I have a day at home. I don't have any appointments or anything. But anyway, I wanted to tell you about the city council. So, you know how revved up I was about the taxes on my house. Well, guess what? They weren't quite as bad as I was leading you to believe. They were still bad. It was 18%. But they weren't that bad. Well, they were that bad. I mean, that's a lot of money. They valued my house more than Zillow does, and Zillow inflates all their appraisals. So, Gay and I are going to go together. I'm going to drive her because she can't drive in the evening. So, that's fine. I get all my stuff ready, and I'm getting ready to go out to the car, and I can't find my purse. I'm telling you, my purse has the keys to the car. So I called Gay and I said, you're gonna have to drive tonight, or I'll drive your car because she can't drive at night. Trust me, I've been with her at night. She can't. And she said, well, did you look in your car? Maybe it's in your car. Well, then I had this flash. The other day, Sunday, I went over to Kevin's to the football game, and I was carrying my water bottle, and I was going to try to do some filming on the way. So I threw my purse in my car. So lo and behold, I go out, and there's my purse. So I call her back, and I said, I'll be there, in a few minutes. So that wasn't too bad. At least I didn't call someone over to jumpstart my car because I didn't have my keys. I've done that twice. Twice I've done that. So anyway, I go and I pick up Gay. We have a nice chat on the way to the meeting. And we get there. We were early because, all old ladies always go early. I don't really like that. But we got good seats. So it was in the city councilor's chambers. It was in their chambers. So all the seats for the citizens who can speak were kind of lined up row after row, back after back. And then the important people sat in this half-moon shaped conference table. And they had microphones at each table. And they had computers at each table. So anyway, we were in the second row. And they have an agenda. And it really wasn't about taxes, but citizens can speak during the meeting for 3 minutes. We knew that there was a 3-minute control. They don't want you to, me, I could talk for hours. So we were number 8 on the agenda, but it went pretty quick. And then all of a sudden it was our turn. And there were 3 of us in our group. Kevin was going to speak. Kevin is Gay's son. He's the one who did the Meals on Wheels, remember that? And then it was myself, and Gay was on the fence about talking or not. So Kevin went up first, and he asked three very intelligent questions. And then it was my turn. I had to go up to the podium. I had to adjust the microphone. You know how, like the president does at the podium? Well, I had to do that, and I had to look at these counselors, all these supposedly important people that don't do anything. So anyway, I told them, I was very nice. You know that I can be kind of agitated, but I was really good. I decided that I was going to try and present myself as a professional person and not an idiot. So I told them I was very disheartened with the fact that our taxes went up. I wanted to know what the percentage of taxes, if that was across the board 18%, or if it was only on lakefront property, or what, where did that 18% come from? And I told them, I suppose since we're paying that much taxes, that now you're going to send a school bus down our road, you're going to pick up our trash, and we're not going to have to pay for sanding because we're carrying this town, all the waterfront people. So I said that, but I said it nicely. And then I said, you people are pushing the elderly people out of their homes. And I told them, I said, I have allotted such and such from my grocery bill, and this tax bill is what I've allotted. It's close to what I've allotted. So now I have to consider, do I pay my tax bill? Do I move? What do I do? It was really kind of dramatic about it. And I said, I think that you people don't really care about the elderly. I think you're trying to push out the old folks so you can get these people from away. We call anyone from another state from away so they can build these $1 million homes and tear ours down that have been in our families forever. So I said, would you please consider these things? And then I went and sat down. When I was going to sit down, you're not going to believe this, the whole auditorium, it wasn't really an auditorium, I'm exaggerating, but I want you to get the feeling of it. They all clapped for me. They clapped. I was talking to all these mucky mucks, and in front of the whole town, they clapped for me. I was the only one they clapped for. There were several speakers. So I was pretty pleased about that. But you know what? The only reason that I could do that is because of you folks. Because of this channel. I had no qualms about going up there. I wasn't uncomfortable. I wasn't anxious. I had my bullet points and I knew what I wanted to talk about and the questions that I wanted to throw in their face. So I knew that, and I spoke like I knew what I was talking about, which is very unusual because usually I do wing it. I'm winging this right now, but I do have some notes because I want to make sure that I hit all the highlights of this terrific couple of days that I've had. So after we spoke, we left because it was all kinds of other stuff that we weren't interested in. We go out, it's torrential rains. We were soaking wet. The water was like dripping off of our hair. And of course, I just did my hair. It happens every time. Every time I do my hair, it rains. Or something happens, like I go to pick up vegetables at the grocery store. I was there today. And they squirt the vegetables with a mist. I'm telling you, this happened to me today. But we needed the rain. So the rain was good, but it was torrential, and it was nighttime. And I don't know, but I made it home. I dropped Gay off. I came home. And then I went to use my phone because the other situation that I'm dealing with is my oldest son is very sick. Benjamin, you've seen him once, I think, on a live. But he's been sick for about 2 years, and they cannot figure out what's wrong with him. He's had to give up his job. She's had to give up her job. because she's taking care of him and her father who's on hospice. So it's fortunate that they were veterans because that has helped them a little bit. But anyway, so I said I've got to message my daughter-in-law and find out what's going on because he was in the hospital. So, that's really where my heart and my mind was with what's going on with him, because I'll tell you, I don't know what I would do if anything happened to him. Many of you have been through it. So, anyway, I can't find my phone. It's nowhere. I go out to my car. It's not there. And I said, well, maybe I just can't see it because, the face of it is black. So I go back out. I can't find it. I look in every room. I only have 2 rooms and a bathroom. But I looked on every surface. Now my counters are black. The phone, if it's face up, is black. But I was aware of that when I was looking. I was looking for the phone. I did not find the phone. So I said, okay, this too shall pass. It's probably right in front of your face and you don't know it. So, but I knew that I had to go back to the town hall, city hall today because I had other business to take care of. So I just went to bed and I decided I'm not going to worry about it because I know that it's at the counselor's meeting hall or whatever the heck it is. So I'm sound asleep. I'm sleeping really, really good. I was in a deep sleep. All of a sudden I hear the phone ringing. It was my house phone, not my cell phone. My sister butt called me. It was 7:15 in the morning. And she starts laughing. I said, what are you calling me for at 7:15? She said, my phone does that all the time. I said, if your phone does that all the time, maybe you should replace your phone. Because it was more than butt dialing. She said that it was dialing all the numbers in her contacts randomly, like. And she'd feel it, she would know that it was dialing, like in her. I said, you're going to take care of that. I said, don't call me at 7:15 ever again, please. Because you immediately assume that it's an emergency or something, and I was worried about my son. So anyway, that got me off. That's what I started with today. So I had several errands that I had to do. First, I had to find the phone. I had to find that phone. So in the phone is my calendar. So I knew that I had a hairdresser's appointment, and I thought it was at 12:45, but I wasn't really sure. Because then I start to doubt myself. Well, do you really know that it's at 12:45? So I stopped at the hairdresser, and they reassured me that it was at 12:45. They must think I'm nuts, the whole world. You guys probably think I'm nuts too. I want you, while I'm telling you my story, to be thinking, does this ever happen to you, these kinds of things? So anyway, I go to City Hall because I have to register my car, and I have to find my phone, and I have to vote. So I go to, first I get into the phone thing. I have every employee in City Hall looking for my phone. I was going to say for my frickin' phone. Nobody knew where it was. Nobody ever turned it in. It wasn't in the counselor's chambers or whatever the heck that is. And so there was no evidence of my phone. I said to one of the ladies, do you think I should just go and buy a new phone? What am I going to do? How am I going to live without my phone? She said, wait. I said, okay. So then I go to register my car. Now get this. My registration was overdue. It was due in April. I knew it was overdue. But it was, normal people don't do this. I take risks all the time. I take risks. So he said, he said to me, "Oh, that's quite a bit overdue, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah, I did the same thing last year." So I go to show him my insurance card, because you have to have your registration and your insurance. So I look at the insurance, and it expired in 24. So I didn't have a current insurance thing. Now, it's a good thing that I had this, because my friend Ann and I are going away next weekend. We're going, actually, and she's going to be driving my car. So that's why I did it. I said I didn't want her to be embarrassed by getting stopped, having to produce old papers. But so he said, "Well, you'll have to call your insurance." I said, "I don't have a phone." "Oh, yeah, you don't have a phone." So he figured out what the number was for my insurance agency. And then he called the insurance agency, and I talked to the guy, and I asked him if he could fax it to the tax office. So he did. And, so then the registration was taken care of. Then I go to the fire department, which is in the same building, and I talk to this woman about my phone. And she got all into it. She was devastated that my phone was missing. So she called it, and it said that I wasn't available. No kidding, where the heck is the phone? Why am I not available on my phone? Well, I didn't have it, but I mean, it should have gone to voicemail or something. But anyway, so I said to her, "Do you ever watch YouTube?" Honest to God. And she said, "Yes." I said, "I have a YouTube channel." "You do?" I said, "Yeah, you should really look it up." I said, "You're kind of young." She was probably in her late 50s. She'd fit in. So anyway, I wrote it down for her when I gave her all the other information. She said, "Do you have your friend's phone number?" I said, "My phone numbers are in my contacts, which are in the phone that I don't have." "Oh, yeah, I forgot that." But anyway, she called the police department to make sure that, they were aware if anyone turned my phone in. So there's no evidence of my phone. So then I go over to the, I don't know, it's all in one room, different sections of the counter. So I voted. Thank goodness. That went smoothly. It's amazing. It went smoothly. There was nothing wrong with it. So then I leave City Hall. City Hall, by the way, is not handicapped accessible. They have a ramp on the back side of the building that you cannot get parking spaces for. So you have to come down, and the stairs are like going up Capitol Hill. Going to the Capitol, have you ever seen those stairs? There's like thousands of them. So I had to go up and down those stairs with my bum hip and my bum knee, but I did fine. And so I complained about that. I said, "This place is not handicapped accessible, and that is a federal regulation." God, I'm so bad. I think I'm an authority on everything, and I have no clue. I don't know where my phone is. So anyway, then I go grocery shopping. It's just down the street. Everything. When I go out, I plan, bang, 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 I'm going to do all these things. So I have my list, and that I've been writing all week. Every time something, I realize that I need something. So I'm walking into the grocery store, and I don't have my bags. Those reusable bags? I have about 150 of them in my back trunk. My friend Ann says, "You got to get rid of those before we go on our trip. We won't be able to put our suitcases in there." Honestly. And I cleaned out that back trunk when I was doing decluttering of my car. That's the only thing I ever did. But the trunk part was supposed to be good. So anyway, so I go back to the car and I get the bags. I was grateful that I remembered because I don't usually remember, and then I buy another bag and then I put it in those bags. So I'm just about to get in the store and I was going to review my list. I didn't have my list. I didn't have my grocery list. I go back to the car. It is nowhere to be found. I knew that it was on the front seat of the car, the passenger seat. I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. And I said, screw this. I'm just going in the damn store. So I had to go up and down every aisle to make sure that, something might trigger that I would remember what I needed. And sure enough, as I'm getting in the car, I remembered I didn't get heavy cream. Because remember, I make ice cream every week, and you need to have heavy cream on hand, just in case you get the urge to declutter your bathroom and take that out of there. No, so I didn't go back because I had a hairdresser's appointment then. So I go to the hairdresser. I was a few minutes early, and thankfully she could take me earlier, which was good because I don't like to leave Quinny alone too long because who knows what she's going to get into. Plus, she gets very stressed. She gets very anxious. She misses me. What can I say? So I go into the hairdresser's, and one of the girls says to me, I saw you on TV last night. And I said, well, you watch me on YouTube. She said, no, I saw you at the, what meeting did I go to? The counselor's meeting. She said, they film those meetings. I said, I didn't see anyone filming anything. She said, yeah, they film those meetings. So she said, I loved the pink shirt and the pink jacket you had on. I said, did my hair look all right? She said, yeah, it looked great. I said, they couldn't see the short socks that I had on, could they? She said, no. She said, you looked fine. She said, what you said was fine. I said, really? You think so? She said, I'm looking for more reinforcement. Yeah, it was really good. And then she said, they all clapped for you. And I said, did anyone stand? I say these things with a straight face. I said, did anyone stand? Did I get a standing ovation? I said, because I didn't want to look. She said, no. They just clapped. But she said, you're the only one they clapped for. So I would call that a standing ovation. Anyway, so I get my hair done. And then I drive home. Now I have these heavy bags of groceries. But they were in those things, so they weren't bad. I'm not going to talk about that. So then I come in, and Quinny's bouncing off the wall. She needs to go out, and she needs to be fed because she missed her noon feeding. So I took care of that. And then I said, okay, now I have to work on the phone. One of the ladies at the town hall said, did you call the phone? I said, yes, but I lied. I didn't call the phone. I said to myself, oh no, I didn't even call the phone because I have a landline. So I go to get the landline. I went around, like in front of the refrigerator, there's a little counter there, full of junk. My phone was there. I saw it instantly. I have been going around the town, the city, whatever you call it. I have the police department, the fire department, the tax collector, the voting person trying to find my phone. I have my friends. I called my friend Brenda, who was at the meeting, and I thought, that they left after us. And I said, can you look and see? She said, we're already on our way home. So she couldn't. That was last night. So I find the phone after all that hoopla. So, oh, it's not over yet. Well, it's almost over. Yeah, because you guys don't want long videos, but I can't tell a story shortly. And you can, you're probably already gone, so you won't even miss it. But I hadn't got ready for coffee today, so I sat down right away at the computer because I've been gone all day. And I started recording. No, first I read in my book so that I'd calm down. Then I started recording. And the dog wants to go out. So I stop. And then I start again. I did it 3 or 4 times. Then, the last time I'm recording it, the phone rings. The landline. And it's Gay. And she says, can you come over and help me? I'm so sorry to bother you. I said, of course, honey. I'm like, I'll be right over. Just let me send this video to the editing software. So I did. And it all didn't come through. So I went over to Gay's. I fixed her problem. She was bleeding all over the place. She had some minor lesions removed, and one of them was just bleeding, and she couldn't get it to it because of the location it was. So I fixed that. Then I come home, and then I start again. So anyway, here I am. I hope you come back tomorrow. And I have my phone, but I never, ever tried calling it. So I want you to think, do things like this happen to you all the time? When I was in the hairdresser, they were saying, that happens to me all the time. I said, yeah, you're just trying to make me feel good. Anyway, I will see you tomorrow, and thank you for being such a great community, and I couldn't do it without you. Thank you.